Good evening. Welcome to the ShadowTrader video weekly for Sunday, July 8th, 2007. I just came back from a short break. I took the last week off from the markets, and I didn't look at the markets at all during the week. I watched the close on Friday, July 6th for about the last hour or so. I think I saw that amount of trading, but other than that, it was just, I really didn't look at all. And before I left for vacation, one of our clients, a listener from the broadcast, emailed me, and she said, why don't you give us a bird's eye view over your shoulder of what it would be like when you first sit down to look at the markets for the first time after not looking for a week. And I thought about that for a while, and I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So I didn't really do any research coming into this video, and this video is just, I'm just doing it cold here. So the first thing that came to mind when I pulled up the S&P is, and obviously, like I said, I mean, just as a disclaimer, I did peek at the markets on Friday at the close, so I realized we were much higher. But first thing that comes to mind when I look at this daily chart is this area right here. Look at these two tails, which was the end of last week, right? We did have a sort of a bottoming tail shadow here on Friday's trade, but more importantly, I was impressed by the bears a little bit, and the fact that they had these two topping tails to the upside. I thought it was a pretty powerful pattern to the downside, right? Now, obviously, you wouldn't be shorting anything like this unless you saw a cross below this level right here. So you shouldn't have gotten burned by this anyway. But let's say that you did. One of the things that jumped out at me right away is looking at it, and I have to credit Larry Williams for this. You can Google him if you don't know who he is. All concerns about tax evasion and running away to Australia aside, I think Larry Williams is a pretty smart guy. And one of the things that he talks about a lot in his text is he talks about this exact setup long whenever you have two topping tails, or even just one, even if it's just one topping tail, right? And then when price moves higher than the shadows of the tails, completely basically nullifying the bearish intent of the topping tails, right? And all these bears are forced to cover, and then boom, the market moves higher. As you can see, that's exactly what happened in this shortened trading week. You had a violation of two topping tails. These tails were quote unquote violated to the upside, as you'll hear me say sometimes in the broadcast live on the thinkorswim platform. You'll hear me say, heads up, topping tail violated to the upside, 15-minute S&P. Well, it works on all time frames, and here you have on a daily, the tails were violated, boom, market went higher. Not only did it go higher, crossed the trend line here. Look at the weekly. Amazing chart. And up here in the 1550 area is the all-time high in the S&P, which was from the bubble, right? And look, we're very close now. And it appears to me that this pattern is bullish. It looks like we're going there, okay? Now, let's look at the Dow. Again, I'm just looking at this stuff for the first time. I looked very briefly Friday afternoon, but I'm seeing this pretty much for the first time in a week. Bullish. I mean, this is basically a double bottom formation here, moving up. Believe me, I'll be the first one to admit I certainly thought that this bearish action here after a sell-off of negating this move was going to take the market one leg lower over the summer. I did also say, however, in the broadcast, I'm not shorting too heavy, shorted a little bit. Some of those broke even, some didn't work out, and now pretty much I think it's back to bulls on parade. Look at the weekly in the Dow, still setting records. I don't think there's any problem here with going to 14,000 at this point. Now, one of the things that fueled this while the time I was away is this amazing action in the NASDAQ composite. All I have to say about this is, holy cow, I never expected this coming home after taking a week off. This is unbelievable action in the NASDAQ. Look at this breakout here. Clear sailing over these highs. Tech is definitely coming right back into favor, right? Very, very strong. Also, SOX index, look at this. Completely took back the pullback. Extremely strong, right? Look at this breakout here. 500 level we know is psychological, right around here. That was an important level, took it out. Cluster of prices here. Look at the weekly, right? This is pretty much open, I think, to about here, don't you think? Especially now that this peak has been taken out. Look at this open space here, and look at this downdraft here. Not going to resist, right? Semi's probably going to move to this area, which will continue to be strength in the NASDAQ. I would say four-letter symbol stocks that have good fundamentals are still buy on a pullback mode. Case in point, ShadowTrader Pro, while I was away, I told my minions before I left, I said, listen, I'm going to be away. Don't trade too heavy. Just get the feel for it, right? I want you guys to buy Apple if it crosses over my trend line. I think I gave my assistant a level at like 124 or something. Well, lo and behold, we did buy Apple at 124. We're up $8 in the trade. It looks good. I think there's going to be another leg, probably some sideways action here between 130 and 135. Right? Our target is 137 for a 10% move, but look at the weekly. The stock should move higher this week. So those of you that are long Apple with us through ShadowTrader Pro newsletter, I think it looks great. The weekly did make a huge big body candle, right, which is extremely strong. This usually follows through to at least another week of higher prices. Those of you interested in that product, it's at www.redoption.com, and you can check it out there. And it is $20 per month. So I'll just put that up here. You can, for ShadowTrader Pro, to get trading ideas such as Apple, there's 2 to 4 trading ideas every single day, plus the official calls which come out in real time, such as Apple, via email. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about volume. I don't have the volume matrix set up because, as I was saying, I was off a week, so I wasn't able to update it, and I didn't want to delay this video any longer than now. I'm starting to see volume still coming in lower a little bit here, kind of a trend down as the market moves up. I think, however, it's nothing to be concerned with. I think it's the summer. I think volumes are going to be lower across the board here in the broad market on the NYSE and also on the NASDAQ. You can see that it's just not as high as it was earlier, but I think it's a function of summer trading. I also would like to say that there are times in the markets, and sometimes this lasts long times, where things that work and give signals and act like tells, quote unquote, for you poker players, for some time periods tend not to work and not act as tells. And I'm starting to feel like currently the market's ignoring the volume because there were definitely signs of distribution coming into this area, and then this violation of these tails took it out. You know, part of that was obviously this kind of surprise strength in the NASDAQ, but regardless, you know, so that's something to keep in mind. We're going to keep monitoring it, obviously, but you know, just something to keep in mind. It feels to me like the market's ignoring it. When situations like that occur, you must always go back to the chart and focus on price, because although the market is really only made up of price and volume, and those two are the most important components, and it's really all there is. And anybody who tells you that they watch, you know, certain oscillators and whatever, all these big technical indicators, they're all derivative of price and volume, right? Out of those two, price is still king. Remember that. So don't ever get caught in the trap of saying, oh, this market's going up on such low volume, it's BS, I'm going to short it, I'm going to short it. Well, it can keep going up on low volume. Remember that, you know, and that will certainly screw you in the end. You'll be, you know, you can't just sit there and let the market go against you to the upside and use the excuse, well, it's going up on low volume. It's not really happening. Well, it happens, you know, it can keep happening. So I think it still maintains to be bullish. Let's take a quick look at some sectors, also crude and oil, crude and gold. Look at the crude. I said basically last week that I thought crude was going much higher. And lo and behold, look at the trend line break, and this is where we were last week, and I said I think this is going to keep going, and it is. And look at the open space. I don't see any reason why this is not going back up to test this area. GLD on the weeklies did catch itself at the trend line. This is, as I've been saying before, the do or die situation basically for the yellow metal. It really needs to hold here. Look at the monthly. If it doesn't, then we should see a little bit of a move lower. We shall see. If you're bullish, take it again. Here, right at the symmetrical triangle, you can certainly make a play for it around $640 to $650 an ounce. Strength in the crude is certainly pumping XOI, which I would say is a buy on any pullback. Oil sector also OSX, which is oil services. Let me pop that up, right? Also probably a buy on any pullback. Transports are still a little bit behind, but it makes sense because the crude is a little bit weaker. So those of you that follow the Dow theory, we're not seeing the follow-through in transports making a new high at the same time as the Dow is setting records. Just something to keep in mind. However, again, remember, in periods of time, things become disconnected. And this is probably one of those times where all the old adages and all the old saws, meaning, you know, oh, it's got to be the transports have to confirm, and how come the volume's not going up? Well, just remember, always keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on this chart. For now, price is king. I would say buy on pullback mode, strong stocks. Use your Investors Business Daily 100 list wherever you can get them. Strong stocks that have good fundamentals in a market like this that essentially is, even if it's not outright bullish, if it's just sideways to bullish, right? The strongest stocks will continue to fly as long as the market's not bearish. There's the perfect example. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. On behalf of myself and the entire ShadowTrader team in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and of course, all the good people in Chicago, Illinois at thinkorswim, I wish you good trading and good night.